You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt McGackie, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Kelly Schaefer of Atheist. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers!
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I know there is a lot you could be doing right now, and the fact that you're hanging out with me really means a lot. I really, really appreciate it. This episode was really fun. Fran and I had a great time. I'm a fan of the band. You know, it just is a magical thing when it all clicks together like that. It was really, really a good conversation, and I want to get right to it. But before I do that, there's just a little bit of business to take care of, so let's do that really fast. First of all, I've received a few messages lately about the text chat, the community line that is open. You can text 503-751-8577. I haven't talked about it in a while, but yes, that is still going. So again, the number's 503-751-8577, and that's also in the show notes, so you don't have to swerve off the road to write that down or anything. You can just text that, and there will be a couple automated messages to confirm that you want to join, and then everything else will just be a conversation between the two of us. Basically, how it works is you text the number, opt in to join, and then you and I can text each other whenever. I respond as soon as I can. I don't believe I've missed anyone yet. It's a lot to keep up with, but it's also a lot of fun. You can send me things, and what usually happens is I'll send a message out to everyone, the same thing, like, hey, check out this link, or hey, check out this whatever. Usually it's pertaining to music in some way, but sometimes it's random. It's really random. It's a way to open a line of communication that I wouldn't otherwise have on the normal socials. And you can opt out at any time by texting stop. It's not a big deal. But yeah, it's really fun. There are a lot of people on there, and I've made some really good connections with a lot of the listeners. So that is a lot of fun. Additionally, I want to remind everyone you can support the show by making your gear purchases from tonemob.com/sweetwater. Those links have been a little bit funny lately, but I fixed them. I found something on my website that was not quite right, and it was causing some folks to go to those links and it would say, hey, there's nothing here, but I fixed it. So tonemob.com/sweetwater, tonemob.com/reverb, and tonemob.com/stringjoy are all operational. So that's sweetwater.com, reverb.com, and my fine folks at Stringjoy, of course. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's knock all this garbage off and get right into this episode. I think you're going to enjoy it. Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about guitar stuff, occasionally, sometimes. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today, I have Francesco Artusato from, well, lots of things, actually.
A couple of things. How's it going?
Couple things. Good. You know, just trying to keep my head on straight. How about yourself?
Yeah, kind of same here.
Gotcha. Well, you're primarily here to talk about the light the torch stuff, but just in case my audience isn't as familiar with you as they should be, maybe we could start with your musical backstory. I know that's long and storied, but we could start when you started playing guitar and how we ended up talking today.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I'm one of those people who started playing guitar kind of late. I was 19. And it kind of happened by accident. I was, at that time I was really into martial arts and I was training a lot. I injured myself. I had an issue with my right foot. And basically I was told that, for 6 months, I wasn't going to be able to do any of that. And at that point, I had my brother, my cousin, they both play guitar, and I had some guitars at home, and something that I never, for some reason, never really even tried to play. I mean, I was listening to a bunch of music, but I guess I always felt like, okay, my brother's doing it, I don't need to do it. And then in that occasion, I started playing, and then literally was a week later, I was already talking about, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to be focused on. And I started looking for, I actually heard about Berklee College of Music from a friend of my brother. And then I did my research, and kind of right away, it's like, okay, that's going to be my goal. I'm going to go there and study there. And then meanwhile, my family was just like, what? You're 19. What are you talking about? It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to move to the States. I'm going to do all these things. And yeah, when I think about it, it's like, now that I'm more of an adult, if I think of, if I had my son or my daughter were to tell me something like this, I would freak out a bit.
Right.
But, it's like, in the end, it was one of the best, decisions I made in my life I mean, once I felt so, passionate about music, was a really good decision, just, especially for the music that I ended up doing. Just the States is definitely the right place. So, yeah. So just lots of practicing. And finally, 3 years later, I was moving to America, and it started with Berklee College of Music.
Were you always into heavier stuff, or where did you start with
No, actually, I mean, I was listening to obviously a lot of rock, but it's like pop, a lot of classical music, and it all comes from the music my parents were listening to. The kind of parents, they always took us to concerts, and then there'll be like classical music, opera, or could be like rock concerts, Elton John, Eric Clapton, all kinds of stuff. And so always listening to music at home. So that was and then the other thing is, like, also my brother, who's also a musician, he already had like a passion for music. So obviously he would show me a bunch of stuff. It's like, as soon as I started playing guitar, he was right away showing me like Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, like all that. And so it was a good introduction.
Do you remember the first like aha moment with guitar? Like, were you like, what is this?
Yeah, my brother showed me the riff for "Smoke on the Water."
There you go.
And then I played that, and obviously it's a fairly easy thing to play. So even like it's when you start playing guitar, it's easier to do that than strum like a bark chord. It's like something like that. So. So that was it. I was like, damn, this is so much fun. And after that, we just like got so into it.
Did you start playing in bands when you, like, as soon as you got to Berklee, or did that happen afterwards?
I started actually before, because like one of the things you always hear is like, it's very important to also, not only practice in your bedroom or studio, whatever, just like try to play with people. So even when I was in Italy, I try to have we started a band, and at that time my brother was singing in the band, and he actually, my brother had a band already, and then they basically fired the guitar player to have me in the band as the guitar player.
Ouch.
And but I hope that guy doesn't hate me. But
maybe does a little bit, let's be honest.
Maybe does.
Yeah.
And so this was before Berklee, and once I got to Berklee, probably like a year later, we started with the band over there, and all like people studying at Berklee, and so it was like extra fun to be in a band like that. And I actually saw right away how easy it was to just play shows. Because in Italy, it's just, you don't really have the venues for this kind of stuff. I mean, for small bands, obviously, if you're a touring band, yes, but you're just starting, it's really hard to just find a way to play shows.
Right.
And in the States right away, it's like, oh, you want to play this weekend? It's like, sure. And then next weekend, it's like, drive a little bit around, and at that time I was in Boston. And, right away it felt like, yeah, this is probably the right place. The people dig it here. And, after we graduated, we all moved basically the band to LA because, the drummer and I, we both have graduated in film scoring. And so obviously film scoring is, you kind of want to move to LA because that's a place where you really get to do that.
Of course.
And, so while trying to work and I did some work with, with film scoring, I was also, really focused on, trying to do something with the band, our band. And then once our band, we kind of like everybody started having their own things, and like one guy quit and another guy quit. And so it became a thing. It's like, okay, I really need to focus on, doing my things. And I try to play with anybody really. I got to play like gigs where I was, on bass in with a hip hop group, stuff like that. Just to try to play, as much as possible, and then get, noticed. And actually, with the band that I had before, that's how kind of happened the connection with All Shall Perish, because we were doing one of those those rip-off shows when you got to sell a bunch of tickets to play. And I mean, LA is really known for this. And in our case, we were supposed to open for Divine Heresy, but instead of opening, we played after. And they did put us after,
geez.
Which is like, as you can imagine, like everybody left. It was just like a few of our friends and girlfriends, and that was it. But nonetheless, the tour manager of Divine Heresy saw me play, and after that we talked a little bit, and he told me he was impressed, and so months later, that's when at that time the band was not a thing anymore, but I got a call from All Shall Perish manager asking me if I wanted to audition, and then he knew of me because of that tour manager who had talked about me. Yeah. So one of those type of things that happened, and and that same weekend, they flew me to San Francisco to meet the band, and basically they told me it's like in 10 days we're going on tour, and that was it. It's like just learn a bunch of songs and started touring like that.
You played with them for quite a while, right?
Yeah. That was a few years, and I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but like things just went pretty bad with lawsuits and stuff like that with All Shall Perish.
Oh, I'm not familiar with it. I know the music, but I didn't know the story. So
yeah,
gotcha. That sometimes is the way the cookie crumbles. It's unfortunate, but
I was able to do one record. I mean, we basically were done with the record number 5, and that's what the lawsuit with the one of the original members basically sued the current band, and basically that was the end of doing anything with that band.
Gotcha. Was it weird going from being in a band playing after Divine Heresy to all of a sudden touring with All Shall Perish? Was that like a shock at all?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like, I mean, it's what you dream that, you hope that one day stuff like this is going to happen. And and then once you start touring, obviously, like at that time, like I did a tour with the band that I had here in LA, but it was one of those tours like we booked it ourselves in a small van and just experiencing for the first time, that kind of stuff. And also those guys at that point were my best friends because we went to school together and all that. And all of a sudden it's like you go on tour with people you kind of barely know.
Right.
And you're around them all day long. And then real life touring can be like a real like a bigger band touring can be more tiring, I think, because of there's just more going on. And like the first tour that we did was Danzig, and then right after we had like a week off or something, and then we started with Summer Slaughter. Summer Slaughter is like, I never experienced something like that. It's like being in the heat, like playing these venues where like 11, 12 bands, and they're all like super heavy bands. Crowd is going nuts. Like some of the most sweaty places ever. Like,
right.
You know, the venues that literally like you see that condensation coming down the ceiling and just like your face while you're playing. It's just like brutal. But you know, it's part of that also type of touring. And so it's like when you're touring with your own, you know, like when I was touring before, that was like, you know, you play like, I don't know, some small bar and it's just more chill. It's like, whatever. It's like all of a sudden you have like people filming you and all this stuff. It's like, you know, there's a lot more pressure for sure. And so you kind of learn all that, and you need to learn it all pretty fast. And shortly after we went to Europe, that was my first European tour. And, you know, that's the other thing that, you know, it's like again, very different tour in Europe than in the States. And so it's like the first year was just a lot of stuff happening that it's like every tour is like a new adventure. And then you start going to Asia, you start going to places like every time is like different. So, but nonetheless, it's such an intense experience, and you know, you don't really get bored.
Right. There's always something happening, keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
I was going to bring up the point about there being all of a sudden just a ton of pressure. Do you feel like you're the type of person that really thrives under pressure, or did it provide a point of stress for you? How did you feel about that?
I think like at that time, it's one of those things like when you're about to, like when you sense a time like that is about to come, you kind of like fear, oh, I hope it's not going to be too crazy, too intense. But when it happens and you're like, just, it's full of adrenaline, like you're so like just pumped and excited to just see things happening. It's when, I don't know, it's just you bring like there's a next level of yourself that comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I also have to say like this used to be, you know, in your 20s, you're full of this. Now, like I like my life to be a little more, you know, in control, a little more relaxed. You know, when like something big is about to happen, it's a lot of adrenaline, a lot of like, you know, you get, you know, you can get a little, you know, you can feel the discomfort sometimes. So It's like, it was definitely easier when I was in my 20s. But yeah, nonetheless, those are very important moments, and those most of the times are the moments that you remember the most about. In my case, for example, the music career, the moments where, you know, you would have to, I don't know, work extra hard to do certain things. Like, for example, that one time with All Shall Perish, like the fact that they send me the material that I had to, you know, show them, like basically film myself, like doing some stuff. And, you know, I just right away, I worked so hard. And then the same day I already sent everything. And then the morning after they called me, and then it's like, hey, you want to fly to San Francisco, learn a song. And then I had a day to learn a song and just show them that I could do it. And then after that, it's like, okay, you have 10 days and then we go on the road. You have to learn 12 songs. And so it's like, I remember those moments because there's so much pressure and so much adrenaline the whole time. And so I think those moments are needed. And also the moments that elevate you to like a next step of your inner evolution in a way.
It has to be like a tremendous feeling of accomplishment too. Once you get through that and you get done playing that, you know, that first show or maybe the last show, I'm not sure which one it would be, and you're like, I did it. That's gotta feel really good.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And honestly, I realize how those are actually the moments that like, I don't know, it's like that you enjoy the most in terms of feeling you're getting something back from this.
Mm-hmm.
Those are definitely the moments where you're like really feel good with yourself. Like, I did this, it's a good feeling.
Right. So how did the Light the Torch stuff come about?
Well, so tours, probably like 3-4 years after I started touring with Oshel Parish and playing, I started writing demos with the drummer that I met here in LA, still when I was like a struggling musician. And him and I had talked many times about doing some stuff together. And finally, in between tours, I started working on demos with him. And those are actually demos that end up being like what we sent to Howard. And at that time, Howard didn't really know if he was going to do music again. So he kind of had disappeared from everything, and then we were able to get in touch with him. He got excited with the music. And then a few weeks later, we just met here in LA, started working. And at that time, that's actually the project that became Devil right?
Okay.
So that was when we started Devil. And at that time, I was still doing Oshel Parish, so I still had tours and stuff. But that's when things were starting to just be kind of weird. At that time, like the singer. Our singer, Oshel Parish, had joined Suicide Silence, so he was going to be touring with them. And then I was potentially getting more busy with Devil, it's like with the record and possibly going on tour. So it kind of like happened at the same time. And then the lawsuit stuff happened. And that was like, okay, now I can just focus only like Devil, And then a few years later, we got in, again, like issues with it's always the drummer. So and then again, with the band name and all that stuff. So we decided to just move on, change the name, and basically start a new band because, Light the Torch really does feel like a new band, at least for us. The first record is the first record of Light the Torch. It's not the third record of this band, like, some people think. And that's how Light the Torch started. It's kind of like, more of what we wanted to do, because also with Devil, there was so much of people's interest in what we were going to do. It's like between managers, labels, and the producers, like everybody had something. Like they wanted the project to sound like something, right? Because like, oh, it's Howard's big comebacks. Like it should be like this. It should be like that. We should please the old fans. We should. And then meanwhile, we were like, well, we were trying to do something else. We're trying to do, So I think like, especially with the first record, it was kind of like hard to really find a balance of what we really want to do. And I think like what's good with Light the Torch when we started fresh, at that point we were basically not even signed, and then we kind of fronted the money and all the expenses to get into the studio and start working on the new songs, and those are songs we were just way happier about than we had been before, and as soon as we showed to again, label and stuff like then that's when they said, yeah, we want this. But we at that point, we believed in the project, label, no label, and even like managers or no managers. It was just like, this is what we want to do now. And then we don't want people involved, telling us, hey, this should sound like this should sound like that. And I think like we kind of established with that record, this type of, environment. So even with the second record, everybody involved in the team, they know basically we do our thing. And then after we're done, they get to hear the music. They get to, it's a good feeling because, this is exactly what we want to do. There's nobody telling you. There's nobody coming to the studio. It's like, oh, you should change this, you should change that.
How weird is that as a creative person? Like, you're like, this is my thing that I've made. And you got some Joe Blow coming in and just being like, nah, you need more of the thing that I want you to do. And it's like, but this isn't your thing. That would just be so strange to me. I know it happens all the time, though. Is it as weird as it sounds?
It does happen all the time. And it definitely is weird because, I mean, again, there's like sometimes you have people in the team that you actually kind of want to listen to. Like, for example, the team that we have now, it's like, honestly, if they have things they want to say, it's like, I'm actually going to really pay attention because I trust what they have to say, their experience. And, but then again, it's trust that you have to, it just doesn't come out of nowhere. Right. So in the past, it would be like, just somebody just saying like, oh, you should do this. I don't even know if you're saying this. You think about, what's best for the band. You're thinking, well, what's best for you, or I don't know. But yeah, it's like something that it's weird when you have been working on music for possibly like, I don't know, you write the song a year before, then you're in the studio and then you work on it, do all these parts, arrangements, and in the end, somebody shows up and is like, oh, change this. And you just listen to it once. And then, I don't know. There's some people that like, I had experience in the past that would just like come in the studio and just like move their head and just listening to it. You'll just look at them. It's like, what are you doing, man? Just leave. But yeah, it's at least now it's a very different. It's a different like situation.
So this show is supposedly a podcast about guitars and stuff. So maybe we should go through your gear journey now that we've heard the high level view of the musical one. What was your first guitar?
My first guitar was an Ibanez, and RG 6-string. Mm-hmm. I write Ibanez, really cool guitar, and I still have it. Still have it. And actually, a few years ago, because that guitar was still in Italy, and so I had it. My brother was visiting, and basically he took it apart. He put it in his luggage. He brought it here, and I gave all that to the guys here at the custom shop, the Ibanez custom shop. Mm-hmm. And basically says like, can you guys put it together and just clean it up and just make it like it's new? And I mean, because those frets were just gone. It's like I played that guitar so much. It's crazy. Like all my guitars now, because I have so many, it's like none of them have like frets that are really, they're all kind of look kind of new, And but at that time, I was just like only playing that one guitar. And so, yeah, I asked to just, just basically like do get everything in great condition. And I still have the guitar. It plays wonderful. Yeah, it's amazing guitar. So that was first guitar. Then after that, I had a few years where I wanted to try different things. Also, when I went to Berkeley, being that Berkeley, it's mostly like you're doing, jazz and that kind of stuff. You don't really like, at least when I went, there were not many classes where you just go and shred, right?
Right.
So I had like, I wanted to try different type of instruments, and I experimented for a little bit. And also that's when I also really got into 7-string. And we were also playing with that band that I had. It was called Hiss of Atrocities. That was the name of the band. We were playing 7-string guitars. So at that time I had was a Schecter 7-string guitar. And and after that it's basically, play a few of those guitars. And when the Ultra Parish gig happened, the good people at Ibanez said like, yeah, if you want to play, if you want to be endorsed, we'll be happy with that. And that's it. It's like been playing only Ibanez guitars for all these years. They're so great and generous, giving me guitars every year, and now like building custom guitars for me, and it's awesome. It's really awesome.
That's got to be a great feeling. Like,
oh, absolutely. It's like, it's one of the other things is like when I started playing guitar, and I still have like all the catalogs that would like collect the Ibanez catalogs. And I would just like look at the pictures of these people like playing guitars. It's just like, oh my God, what a dream. And then, to be one of those people now, it's awesome. It's so cool.
What about the rest of your rig? So what amps and stuff were you playing back in the day?
Yeah. So, at one point I was really obsessed with Dream Theater. So everything was Mesa Boogie. And,
first rock band I ever saw.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Amazing band live for sure. So I had Mesa Boogie for a while, for a little bit. I actually had to sell all that when I was moving to the States.
Right.
So, and then when I was in the States, I got a PV 6505, and that's the amp that I was using to play live with the band. And I still have that, actually. I still have that amp. That's actually the amp that you see in the music video that we put out, Wilting in the Light. That's the amp. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Because at that time, all my Laney rig is in storage in Indiana. That's when we left off, like the tour that we were on last year when the pandemic happened. So we had to fly home, and then we just put everything in our storage there. So I have a few Laney amps, and they're all there. But anyway, so after Mesa Boogie was a PV, and then through All Shall Perish, they had a deal with Angle. So because of that, I started playing Angle also, and it was when I was doing like a clinic tour for Ibanez in Asia for a few weeks, and I met the one of the main guys at Laney. And he was there in Beijing. We were doing kind of like I forget the name. It's like something Expo, whatever. It's basically like a NAMM, but they do in Beijing.
Okay.
So I met him, and at that time, actually, after Angle through All Shall Perish, we started having to deal with Mesa Boogie. So we were playing Mesa Boogie again, and then when I was doing this clinic tour in Asia, it was super hard to get Mesa Boogie amps, because like you're playing in like, you're playing Taiwan, you're playing like in the middle of China, you go into India, you go to like certain places where like they just didn't have the distribution. So I couldn't have like a Mesa Boogie amp. And then when I was in Beijing, the guy from Laney told me, it's like, well, we actually have one of the best distributions in the world. And, with us, it's like anywhere you go, you'll have the amp that you want. And so that's when we started talking. And since then, that's when I started playing Laney, and I've been playing Laney since, 2011. So 10 years.
Nice. Specifically, what Laneys are you playing?
I played the Ironheart. It's the 120.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
How about pedals? You like pedals at all?
Yeah, I like pedals. Nowadays, I'm obviously with the, pedals to me, it's more like studio and at home, with traveling and like on stage, and having a guy like Howard who can't stop moving and goes like, he turns into a maniac live. It's better to not have too many things on the floor. And so I have like small pedal board with everything, and I've been using I had like TC Electronic for a while, and now I've been actually using Line 6 for a few years. And I got in touch with them through Dino Cazares years ago, and they've been good to me also. So, and their products are getting better and better. But yeah, when I'm at home, it's like I like to, try it with different stuff. It's like even in the studio, it's like it's a cool thing to do. And honestly, like even plugins of cool pedals now are becoming better and better. So it's that can be useful to just like here and there have like a good plugin of a like simulation of cool pedals. But yeah, one of the pedals that I actually kind of discovered a few years ago, and and then you can hear it in both the first Light the Torch and second Light the Torch record, is the Fender Blender.
Oh yes, love the Fender Blender.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's so unique. It's got that, because obviously I like a good fuzz, but it's like this one's got mixes with octaves and some kind of ring modulation. It's like very unique sounding, and so that's something that is like, especially parts where it goes heavier in the song, like kind of breakdowns or any part like that. I add like in the middle, there's like a layer guitar that has that, or sometimes like you just hear that, it's becomes the main guitar, and I just love the different, like the way it hits, just like it feels so good. On this record also, to kind of like achieve the same type of effect, I also started using which is kind of weird because it's not really for guitar, but it's a plugin called it's the phase distortion by Kilohertz.
I don't know that one.
And it's basically like more like I guess I don't know. Usually you see this stuff being used with the electronic music, but I just put it in the chains like on the guitar, and it sounds so good. Also, it's just like it creates this very gnarly, just like sound that has like so much color. And so I kind of like use it in the same way. So on this last record, it's sometimes it's Fender Blender, sometimes it's phase distortion, and it's really, really cool. And other than that, so delays and reverbs, everything gets done in post, and so it just Pro Tools plugins and stuff like that on the record. And amp wise, we actually, on this record, it's actually all JMP Marshall.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
old school.
We used the JMP on some of the less heavy tracks on the first Light the Torch, and then everything else was EVH. But on this one, I had a different guitar with different pickups, and actually guitar with pickups with less output. But the Marzio Fusion Edge, and while the previous record was recorded with, had a Seymour Duncan distortion.
Mm-hmm.
And I was playing with the guitar, different guitar actually. Even the guitar, it's all different from like my past guitars. Like I used to always do like mahogany body with the maple top, maple neck, and rosewood fingerboard. And the guitar that actually played for the whole record, I mean for the rhythm guitars, which is the majority, obviously. So it's actually a ash body, and ash body with the ebony fretboard. So very different sounding guitar. But for sure, like when we were like messing around with tones in the beginning, we used the same basically settings that for the JMP that we used on the previous record. And I think we just like with the like overdrive in front, which I think is the Maxon. I think we just boosted a little more, and that became the tone for this record for the majority.
During the recording process, was it mostly all the real amp mic'd up in the room, or did you split off a DI and mix in some other stuff too?
Oh yeah, we always do DI. So later on we can reamp and do stuff. So we, using Kemper, using all that, and because honestly, like even with the Kemper, it's so good. You just profile the sound, and that's your sound anytime you want. So it's very convenient. But I think it's good to always have the DI tracks for later on. because of just like in case you decide later on you want to change the tone for this one song, or tweak it. It's like whatever. It just makes it much easier.
Yeah, I haven't done just a ton of recording, but what I have done, having a DI track is it's fun for tweakers like me who just cannot stop messing with stuff, and you
absolutely
create new sounds. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and the same thing with dealing with pedals like Fender Blender, or using the phase distortion. It's the kind of stuff like when you record it by itself, it might sound great, but then once just like you mix it, and then on top of that you add layers of other stuff like keyboards, and you might want to have a different settings. So it just gives you the freedom to do so.
Yeah, I haven't talked about this in a while, but I used to quite often when the show first started. Like when I was recording a record with my band, there was a song it just wasn't quite hitting right. And so we're like, what's going on? Why do these guitars not sound the way they should? And fortunately, we had a DI, and the trick ended up being to record a really like horrible, high-pitched, like way too treble-focused guitar track, and then just mix a little bit of it in with the rest of it. And I was like, oh, that's what it needed. But if you isolate that track, it sounds like garbage. It's recording is a funny experience that way.
Oh, absolutely.
So when you've had, obviously a lot of success with a couple different bands, do you have any advice that you would impart to maybe a younger version of yourself?
Oh, myself for what my personal music journey?
Yeah, if you could go back and tell yourself something.
Well, one thing that I think one of the biggest lessons that I ended up learning and finally made me a happy musician was worried about your journey. Don't compare yourself to others. Because for many years, obviously when you start playing and then you have all this, guitar idols or musicians that you kind of want to be as good as them or things like that. Just like it almost becomes like a race to, am I ever going to be able to do that? Or am I going to, but like, it's not really what music should be. And then I think like when I finally accepted this, it's like, well, I'm not going to do what they're doing. I'm doing my thing. This is my journey in music. That's when I finally started being like satisfied with my work and kind of enjoying it more, because before that it was just, I don't know, feeling like I mean, it's even now it's like, it's important to feel like there's still more to, I still have a lot to learn. I still have a lot to, evolve. Like it's a work in progress, obviously, but it's your own work in progress. You're not trying to emulate somebody else's career.
I think that's really important. I think that's really important for anybody who's trying to pursue something creative for the way they earn their living, because you can get really caught up in oh man, how many subscribers does this guy have? Oh man, I'm not there. Oh man, they just hit number whatever on this chart. Oh man. And it's pointless. Yeah. It doesn't matter what everybody else is doing.
And honestly, it's like, how like a lot of people say how, social media can depress people because you're always comparing yourself to other people's lives. And most of the time people are posting up what's good about their life,
the highlight reel.
Exactly. So it's kind of the same. I mean, in this case, obviously it's not like as it's a little more, deep, obviously, when you think about a career and then who you are, but it's like comparing yourself is never really a good idea. Just like it will automatically make you a little depressed, a little unhappy with what you're doing, and instead just focus on doing better. Use other people as like inspiration, not like just comparison.
It can be really hard, especially I think for younger people to try to get into that headspace.
Absolutely.
You just see everybody doing the things that you want to do. And I know this might sound kind of weird, but sometimes if you get the opportunity to be in these situations that you've imagined, you'll come away from it and go, that wasn't quite like what I thought it was going to be. Like I'm not fundamentally different as a person now because I experienced it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very, it's a very weird world we find ourselves in these days.
Oh yeah.
So what are some of your favorite touring experiences? Does anything like stand out in your mind? Like, man, this was just an amazing thing that we got to do.
Well, there's definitely many of these. I think one of the really cool, like this was with Ocean Parish. We happened to be a band that Kirk Hammett really liked. And Kirk Hammett really loved Ocean Parish. He actually, there was like a article in I think it was Rolling Stone, or not sure, but he basically said like his top 50 records of all time, and then he put an Ocean Parish record at number 26, and then he it's so. Like, wow, this is kind of interesting. And then when they were doing the Orion Fest, they invited Ocean Parish to play. And, there was like multiple stages and all that, but we were put main stage. And so the main stage was like, ended up being Ocean Parish, Deftones, and Metallica. And obviously, as you can expect, like, Metallica fans are most likely there for Metallica. I mean, Deftones is a huge band, so they might like that. But we all thought, it's like, oh man, they're gonna just chant Metallica during our set. It's gonna be brutal, probably, for us to play. But so Kirk Hammett showed up before we went on stage, and we started talking. And he talked to me a bunch because he was just being super humble and telling me like, oh man, I admire what you guys do. I can't even play 6-string. You guys doing with 7. It's like, it's amazing, blah, blah. And he's actually, obviously showing that he's a fan of, it's like a certain type of shred. And so we talked a bunch about that stuff. And then he introduced us on stage. And so he actually went on stage and told like the crowd, this is one of my favorite bands. It's from the Bay Area, blah, blah, blah. And so it's like such a good way to go on stage and started the set, and the crowd was just loving it. So that to me really felt like, wow, this is a special moment. I will always remember this. It's like,
I can imagine so.
Yeah, memories that are just like unique. And so that was like amazing. And it's so many different ones, like crazy adventures. Like when you get to tour in Asia, and there's so many cool things that are always happening. But another one that I think like just more recent, and this was 2 years ago with Light the Torch, we played this festival it was actually not really a festival. It was basically, they were organizing shows on Sundays. This was in Quebec. And so basically like this huge outdoors venue. It's like gigantic. It's like insane place. And I don't remember if it was like 50 or 60,000 people that day. And it was going to be Light the Torch, Killswitch Engage, and Slipknot. And
wow.
and the show was insane. Just like a sea of people. And the fact that like we have videos and stuff, like it just like us on stage and then the crowd singing our songs was like so loud, or like jumping, clapping hands and things like that. It's like, and then when we finished playing, they started doing the whole crowd started doing the whole like soccer stadium chant. And I was like amazing. It's like those are moments that you're like, and you know what's crazy? Like moments like this, it always feels like they're so surreal while they're happening that you almost like enter a different state, that you almost like not consciously really fully enjoying it. And once it's over, you're like, oh my God, this just happened. I didn't even like, and the feeling that you have after in your body, just like the pure electricity and adrenaline. Those are great moments.
Does it feel like almost like, did that happen? Was that me?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, it's so crazy. It's like how, literally you feel like you're in a different zone. It's like, well, it's happening. It's like the whole set, the whole thing. And yeah, it's just very special.
Yeah. I can imagine that you'd find yourself in your room, maybe by yourself, maybe brushing your teeth like 4 days later and just be like, wait a minute. Kirk Hammett just introduced us to thousands of people. We just had what? He's like, what is my life become?
Yeah. No, yeah. And then, I mean, there are moments where, especially after certain tours where things are particularly great, you come back and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm not playing in front of a bunch of people today. I'm not, things are, you go to the store and you're just like, oh, just buying grocery now. Just
pay the garbage bill.
Yeah, it's definitely like yeah. But honestly, these are all good feelings in a way that I mean, especially because I've done it for years now, so I know it's not making me any more special than the people at the store. Just like this is a job. I'm very lucky to do it and have like certain success and I'm happy that things are happening, but it doesn't make you more special than other people. So you just get used to it.
Exactly. Do you where do you see yourself in the future? Do you have any big goals in mind, or are you just going to keep on trucking and seeing what happens?
Yeah, I think at the moment things have, with the first Light the Torch record, after we put it out, basically like the whole time things kept getting better. It's like and then there's like you can see a band like growth in like different ways, like from I mean the amount of people that are listening to your music, watching your videos, like people at the shows, people buying merchandise and everything, the tour offers that you're getting, the tour guarantees, all that, everything kept going up, right? So it's like it felt so awesome. It's like to just finally see like all the things that starting your own band and seeing these things happening. So right now, it's like with this second record, obviously it's it's not an ideal time with the in a normal life we'll be on tour probably already, or like while the first record comes out, while this record comes out, and then probably to the rest of the year. But like this is not really happening. But at the same time, we have like a very we feel very good about this record coming out, and we are confident that it's gonna still keep elevating the profile of the band. And to me, this is just been a fun journey to be part of, just being there and then like being part of it and seeing things getting better and getting, I just really enjoy it. And to me, it's just more of this. That's my goal right now, just to keep seeing this and try to make this band as big as we could possibly, make it.
I think that's really cool of you. It's just like, we've got the thing that's working. We're going to keep doing it and see what the unfolds in the next leg of the journey.
Yeah.
So do you guys have any plans to try to tour? I know things are like still really kind of weird and a lot of people are announcing tours, but
yeah,
I'm not sure if all of them are going to happen. What are you guys looking at?
Yeah, we're looking at possibilities for tours in the fall. Obviously, I think everybody, and even like agencies and booking agencies, like everybody's trying to be very cautious because it's easy to get excited finally. Oh my God, it's like we got vaccines now. Let's just plan things. It's like, well, things might be harder than they look still. And but meanwhile, obviously, we're looking at many different options. And so far, we have 2 festival dates announced in September. And yeah, so it's like obviously the outdoors events are going to just be more manageable, but I don't know still like how a venue tour is going to happen. Like, we'll see. But I mean, I honestly, fingers crossed, and I hope so. Like, I hope that this can develop quickly, and we're just all going to be able to tour again.
Yeah, I miss the live music. I miss it a lot. It's the number one thing that I've been missing out on for all this time, you know?
Absolutely.
Well, cool, man. You know, this is getting close to the end of the podcast, and I have a few classic questions I like to get in to wrap this thing up. But before I do that, I like to give the guests an opportunity to, you know, say whatever they want to say. If you got somebody you want to thank, you got something you want to plug, you know, a particular recipe you want to give out, anything you want to talk about right now, the floor is yours.
Let's see. Well, first of all, I would like want to say thank you to our team, you know, it's like management, label, like everybody who's like pushing to make things happen. It's like this, for the first time, like we got to work with a management that really, really feels like they believed in us from day one, you know, and they've done really like an amazing job. And to me, it's like experiencing this from managers for the first time, because like in the past I had pretty bad experiences with certain managers, you know, and yeah, so this obviously, like, thank you for them to keep pushing. And obviously the guys, Howard and Ryan, like to be doing this with me, and the fact that we're all having a great time doing it, you know, it's just mostly like fun. And nice. It's still something that, you know, it's like you get older, but you still feel like, you know, you're living your, you know, the dreams where you were a teenager, you know, and it's still happening because of you have people like you who are your partners. And that's something that I feel very fortunate, because, you know, you go on tour and then you feel like you talk to all these people and you meet people, and then like sometimes you meet a lot of people that, you know, they never got to do what they wanted to do. You know, they tell you it's like, oh yeah, when I was like 20, I really wanted to do this, but you know, didn't work out. And I know what it means, you know, when you're trying really hard to make something happen and it doesn't happen, it's can be really tough. So I'm so incredibly fortunate and thankful that, you know, for me, it's actually, you know, my career is this, and, you know, being an artist, it's like being an artist and being able to do it, you know, comfortably. It's such a, you know, such a luxury in a way. And yeah, it's something that I'm never going to be not thankful for.
Oh, 100%. Like, I can relate to you on that in a big way. Being able to break away from the quote unquote, you know, normal, whatever that means anymore, is truly like something that's a blessing. So I understand where you're coming from with that, for sure. Okay, last questions. Here we go. This one, I'll be interested to see what you say. What is your favorite Boss pedal?
I'd say like, well, the one that I used the most for years and years was I think it's called NS1, right? The noise gate.
Yeah, NS2. I can't remember now.
NS2 or the Y one.
NS something noise suppressor though.
Yeah, the noise suppressor, and I use that for so long. I mean, I don't use it anymore, but yeah, I used to use it. So I guess like that's the one that I use the most as a Boss pedal.
Cool. Yeah, that one's underrated. You can do some fun tricks with that one. I don't have one. I should get one. I should get all the pedals. That's what I need to do. All of them. All right, the NS2. All right, cool. All right, this is the last question, and this is the one that gets a little bit dicey. But you're from Italy, so I'm very curious to get your take on it. What is your favorite kind of pizza?
Pizzas, like for me, it's usually like I do it. I don't ask to have like a bunch of stuff on top. To me, it's like, I mean, even the like the guys who make pizza, they tell you like to taste pizza, you kind of want to get something very simple. So, like, I'm gonna say in Italian, margherita, or you add just like a little bit of prosciutto on top, San Daniele.
Oh, yes.
The thing is, I've been vegan since August, so I haven't. I mean, I'm actually like planning to travel to Italy soon, and that's going to be a challenge because I'm pretty sure once I get to Italy, I'm going to have a pizza with real mozzarella. But yeah, because I mean, pizza's kind of like stopped being fun since I started being vegan, because it's like the cheese makes it. It's such a big part of the flavor, you know, the overall flavor. So using vegan cheese, that doesn't melt right. It's not the same. And also it's like, obviously not putting prosciutto, but like, yeah, even just a simple, you know, pizza, just like with no toppings. To me, it's kind of like that's when you really, you put a little bit of like basil on top, fresh basil, put a little bit of spicy oil. And then that's it, man. It's like, love it.
Yeah, I've grown to really appreciate the simpler pies as I've gotten older. When I was a kid, it was like put all the toppings on like a typical American, you know. And as I've gotten older, I'm like, you know, sometimes less is more. I'm not gonna lie.
Obviously, the pizza needs to be really good, because if the pizza is kind of okay, then you probably you know, it's better if you just add a bunch of toppings.
Right. Yeah, the crust has to be there. Like the crust has taken like the first spot for me. If the crust isn't awesome, then the rest of it can never be awesome. It just can't.
Absolutely.
Well, that was good to get your insight on that. Thank you very much. All right, we can wrap up this section of the podcast, I think. Thank you so much for coming on. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. It was.
For Fran, this is Blake, and as always, folks, good luck and good tones. There you have it, folks. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. That was a good time, and I bet you enjoyed it too. In fact, if you need more, Fran and I talked a little bit more over on Patreon. So if you like this show and you want to see it stick around and have it continue to exist, you can go to patreon.com/tonemob, where for $5 a month, you can get extra episodes beamed to your ears every week, including more with this week's guest. Fran and I are talking a lot about cars on this particular one. Sometimes those Patreon ones really go off into the weeds, and there are over 150 additional episodes waiting for you over on Patreon that you'll get access to right away as soon as you sign up for the $5 level, if you can do that. If you can't, I get it. Times are weird, but please, 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 please share it with a friend. If you enjoyed this episode or any other episode, please tell your friends about it. Sharing on social media is great, obviously. We love to see that. We as in me, I love to see that. But honestly, a personal recommendation from somebody goes a lot further. Most of the podcasts that I listen to on a regular basis and really enjoy and love, I've discovered through a friend being like, hey, you would really like this show. Definitely check it out. It just goes a lot further and means a lot more. So if you have the ability to do that, I would really, really appreciate you sharing your favorite episode with somebody close to you. That would mean a lot to me. All right, everybody. I think that's good. I will see you on the interwebs. Follow me on Instagram at The Tone Mob. Join me in the Tone Mob Facebook group. Catch some content on YouTube, or go download another episode. There are a lot out there for you. All right. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye. One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.